Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to BhagavatSanga program. This is our Srimad Bhagavatam program where we read prayers of pure devotees. The current theme is prayers of King Satyavrata. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 24, from verses 46 to 53. Today, Her Grace Vrajabhumi Mataji will be presenting these verses and sharing her realization. Hare Krishna Mataji, over to you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for this great opportunity. I am very humbled by this. And this, which also allows me to follow into my dear Guru Maharaj instructions. So, without much ado, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanan Maskritya Naran Shaiva Narotaman Devin Saraswatim Yashan Tatuyaya Nudirayate Nasta Prayavsa Bradeshru Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavata Utamalo Sloke Bharti Bhavati Naishtiki Om Janatirimanandhyashan Yanandayan Salakayam Charshu Militan Jena Tashma Shigurave Namaham Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Garahara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you very much for allowing me to do this. And this is a great opportunity for me because my Gurudev's instruction is for me to study Prabhupada's books, and eventually, not just for me, for all my God siblings, it is for us to continue the legacy of Prabhupada, which is to go out and preach and to also give these classes. So please forgive me if I make any mistakes or make any offenses, and please chime in whenever. So I offer you my obeisances. Panchakalpatarubhyasha kripa sindhu vayavasha patitanam pavanevyo vaishnavevyo namo namaha. And I really love these prayers, even though King Satyavrata is not well known in the sense that everybody always talks about him like we talked about other acharyas. But I really love these prayers because they are very dear to my heart in the sense of the topic. And the topic is of surrendering to Krishna and finding the correct or the right. The prayers of King Satyavrata, and Satyavrata means one who has taken a vow of truthfulness. So how special is that? And we start with the first sloka of these prayers, which is the 8th canto. And if we can move to the next slide, Mataji. Text 24, sloka 46. And this one, he said, King Satyavrata says, by the grace of the Lord, those who have lost their self-knowledge since time immemorial, and who because of this ignorance are involved in a material conditional life full of miseries, obtain the chance to meet the Lord's devotee. I accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the Supreme Spiritual Master. So that's the actual prayer. I accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the Supreme Spiritual Master. And as you can see, I bolded to attain the chance to meet the Lord's devotee. So by us surrendering to Krishna, my self-realization is that once you surrender to Krishna, Maya hands the reins to Krishna, and Krishna takes control of your life, especially your spiritual life. So it is Krishna himself who will eventually allow you to meet your spiritual master, he who will guide you to his lotus feet. And Prabhupada say in this specific sloka, his commentary, his purpose says that Vishwanatha Kavachatri Thakur has advised that the spiritual master acting on the Supreme Lord's behalf, must be worshipped as being as good as the Supreme Lord, for he is the Lord's most confidential servant in broadcasting the Lord's message for the benefit of the conditioned souls involved in the material world. And those of us who have been very close to our Guru Maharaj, our spiritual masters, have seen this. Everything that they do by actions, by thoughts, but when they speak, everything is related to the Supreme Lord. They do not deviate from that. And so I feel very blessed that I was able to meet my spiritual master. So that's one of the reasons why I like these prayers, because it is true. You will obtain the chance to meet the Lord's devotee. And can we go to the next slide? The next text says, King Satyavrata says, in hopes of becoming happy in this material world, the foolish conditioned soul performs fruitive activities that result only in suffering. But by rendering service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one becomes free from such false desires for happiness. May my Supreme Spiritual Master cut the knot of false desires from the core of my heart. That is the actual prayer too. May the Supreme Spiritual Master cut the knot of false desires from the core of my heart. So every day that we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, we actually saying, my dear Lord, please engage me on your service. But by the same token, concentrating on the holy name, as I recently been listening to the lectures of the Holy Name Retreat by Sachinanda Swami. As we're focusing, my realization was that the Lord will, our spiritual master, which is Krishna, will cut that knot of false desires, that all those desires would eventually will go away. Whatever we wanted 10 years ago, 5 years ago, eventually we come to the realization, that's not for me. That's not what was meant to me. And we begin to give that up without missing it much. In the beginning, we're hankering for this and hankering for a big house, car, a good husband, good wife, etc. But then eventually you realize that it's not necessary. A devotee doesn't need that much. And he's satisfied with whatever Krishna gives him. So I feel very fortunate that I have done so much service that I came to realization, because me, myself, when I was young, I wanted to be a scholar. How foolish is that, huh? But I studied literature, and I started teaching at a community college, and I wanted all these things. And I know that was my false ego. They wanted prestige. And I was so puffed up because, I have all this knowledge. I have all these degrees. But then I came to realize that I don't want that anymore. All the stress or everything, all the nonsense that goes with it, that only Prabhupada's books have real knowledge. So all that kind of just went away naturally. And that was by the mercy of Krishna, because by rendering service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that's how one becomes free from all those desires. And that's how we begin to grow. And I see many devotees, including myself, when we first come into a temple, when we first come into Krishna consciousness, we are very neophyte. We're fools. We don't know. We don't know how to act. We don't know how to speak. We don't know how to think. But by doing little service, little by little, we begin to cleanse the heart, and we begin to acquire that knowledge by the mercy of the Lord. And by reading, we realize this is the proper way to speak. This is the proper way to behave. And it just comes natural, and you begin to have all these self-realizations, especially like some of us who had been pujaris, being so close, we can make a lot of offenses from which we will have minor repercussions because we are rendering service. But we receive so much mercy. King Satyavrata Prabhupada says in his purport that here Maharaj Satyavrata prays that the Lord sever this hard knot of false happiness and thus become his supreme spiritual master. And it is false happiness, because we out there in the material world, we think that if have a bigger job, where I'm the CEO or I'm in control, or if I have a better car, if I have a bigger house, then I will be happy. Oh, if I just had that $1 million in the bank, then I will be happy. Oh, if I have the most handsome man or the most beautiful woman as my wife or husband, then I will be happy. And we always keep adding, and then I will be happy, and then this will be happy. But as we had learned, people have all that. Hollywood has all this beauty, but they're not happy. People have these mansions, but they're not happy. They're still succumb to disease. They still succumb to the maladies that happen in this material world, whether it's losing a loved one, losing a job, sometimes losing everything they have. We know that people, no matter how much a big car they get, they still not happy. So all these material things, they give us false happiness. It's very temporary, but then it's all gone, and then we become sad again. But if we can sever that knot, Lord Satyavrata says, if you can just remove that, then I will be okay. We can move to the next slide. And that's 48. Here's who wants free of material entanglement should take to the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and give up the contamination of ignorance involving pious and impious activities. Thus, one regains his original identity. Just as the block of gold or silver sheds all the dirt and becomes purified when treated with fire. And here's his prayer. May the inexhaustible Supreme Personality of Godhead become the spiritual master, for he is the original spiritual master of all other spiritual masters. And this is what I meant in the beginning, that when one surrenders to Krishna, because we don't immediately meet our guru. Some are fortunate. I remember that Bibi Govinda Swami was saying that he met his original guru, who was Gunagrahi Maharaj, but he's the one that brought him into Krishna consciousness. So in a way, you do meet that. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the spiritual master that is going to give you your spiritual name and is going to guide you for the rest of your life. Krishna is the one. Once you come into the temple, you step and you give your dandavats and you start. That begins. That's the process. That's your first guru. And Prabhupada says, therefore, the purpose of human life is to purify oneself of this contamination so that one can regain his spiritual form and not undergo this cycle of birth and death. The recommended process of decontamination is devotional service to the Lord. And of course, in many classes they had given us, we know what devotional service looked like. And the number one that my spiritual master emphasized, the number one service that we can do is by chanting the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We had taken a vow to chant a minimum of 16 rounds. And today's on this holy day of Ekadasi, many devotees are, do the vow to chant more, to chant extra. And some devotees actually chant 32 rounds on this day, especially in Vrindavan. And they go out in parikram and they study Prabhupada's book on these days. They don't do anything that is going to exhaust the body, but just concentrate on that. But that's how we clean the heart. That's what the contamination means. We clean that heart and we're able. That's one of the special services. If nothing else, we serve our families, we serve the devotees, we serve at the temple. But that's the number one service that we have to do, to chant the holy names of the Lord. And furthermore, he explains in this purport, Prabhupada says that even though we may not have the fortune to contact the Supreme Lord personally, the Lord's representative is as good as the Lord himself, because such a representative does not say anything unless it is spoken by the Supreme Personality that God had. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore gives a definition of guru. Yare deka tare haka Krishna Upadesha. The bona fide guru is he who advises his disciples exactly in accordance with the principles spoken by Krishna. The bona fide guru is he who has accepted Krishna as guru. This is the Guru Parampara system. The original guru is Vyasadeva because he is the speaker of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein everything spoken relates to Krishna. Therefore, Guru Puja is known as Vyasa Puja. And in this way, we gradually come in touch with the Guru Parampara. One cannot become a guru if he does not know what the personality of Godhead Krishna or his incarnation wants. The mission of the guru is the mission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. Because Krishna, as our Father, he wants us to go back to Godhead. And this is why, one of the reasons why this prayer is so dear to me, because my dear Guru Maharaj is so dear to me, because everything that he has done, everything that he has said, it is related to the personality of Godhead Krishna. So he exemplifies what Prabhupada has just said. If we can move to the next slide. And this will be thank you. That's fine. King Satyavrata says, neither all the demigods, nor the so-called gurus, nor all other people, either independently or together, can offer mercy that equals even 1/10,000 of yours. Therefore, I wish to take shelter of your lotus feet. This is Satyavrata, King Satyavrata speaking to Krishna himself. I wish to take shelter of your lotus feet. And that's one of the things that Prabhupada has said, that many devotees come into Krishna consciousness because we're suffering in one way or another. And it's very true. When we first come into the temple, there is something. We come seeking shelter. And immediately we keep coming again and again. That is taking shelter of his lotus feet of Krishna before we even meet the Vaishnavas, before we meet our Guru Maharaj. Prabhupada says that by the mercy of Lord Vishnu, one can be completely free from material contamination and go back home, back to Godhead. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender to me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. This is the greatest benediction by Lord Krishna himself as he spoke to Arjuna. If we can move to the next text. 50. He further continues, it says, as a blind man being unable to see accepts another blind man as his leader. People who do not know the goal of life accept someone as a guru who is a rascal and a fool. But we are interested in self-realization. Therefore, we accept you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as our spiritual master. For you are able to see in all directions and are omniscient like the sun. So by surrendering to Krishna, we are able to see who is a true guru, who can guide us in our spiritual life. So that is very important. That's another reason why I love these prayers, because it is very true. I personally came into ISKCON when it was mandatory that whoever was in that region, whoever was the guru, they have regions, whether it was south, north, east, or west of the United States and other parts of the world. That was the spiritual master you were supposed to surrender to and take initiation from. However, things have changed. Free will has happened now. So I remember in those days, there was something that wasn't quite clicking with me. And it took me 25 years to surrender to a spiritual master. But by the mercy of Krishna, when I finally met my Guru Maharaj, it was instant. I just knew deep within my heart, this is it. He is the one. So first we surrender to Krishna, and then he will guide us. He will show us who is our spiritual master. Therefore, Prabhupada says, it is the Guru's business to instruct his disciple to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead if he wants to relieve from the material clutches. This is the symptom of the Guru. The same principle was instructed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yarideka Tarik Kaha Krishna Upadashe. In other words, one who is advised not to accept the guru who does not follow the path of instruction given by Lord Krishna. So we had to be very careful. And we get instructed by the Vaishnavas. The Vaishnavas that we meet in the temple, those are our first gurus. They guide us. They know who's bona fide and who's not bona fide. So we had to be very careful and continue to surrender to Krishna and to pray to Krishna to guide us so that we are fully surrendered to the correct and the right spiritual master. If we can go to 51. A materialistic so-called guru instructs his materialistic disciples about economic development and sense gratification. And because of such instructions, the foolish disciples continue in the materialistic system of ignorance. But your lordship gives knowledge that is eternal, and the intelligent person receiving such knowledge is quickly situated in his original constitutional position. Now, this also touched my heart because I remember as a little girl, as young as 6 years old, I used to pray. I had a very, very rough upbringing, very rough life. And the first instructions that Tamal Krishna Goswami gave me back in the 1980s was to read the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, because my mom was compared to Hiranyakasipu. So therefore, he taught me to just read the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj. So it is true, you had to find the correct gurus, because I waited 25 years, not because they were wrong gurus, but the right one for me wasn't there yet. And it is true that I did find some wrong gurus, but not in ISKCON. Because I prayed as a young girl, 6 years old, whenever my grandma used to take me to church, I was raised Roman Catholic. I knew that something wasn't quite right. Something didn't feel right. Especially when I will see the priest to ask you to kiss the ring. And I will wonder, like, I have read the Bible, I have read different scriptures. But Jesus Christ was very humble. He wore, sandals. His disciples were fishermen. Why does this guy have a Rolex? Why does he drive a BMW? Why does he have a gold ring? So I used to question all this. But when I met my spiritual master and all the other sannyasis, I saw how humble they were. And I knew that I was in the correct path. And Prabhupada says, the living entity being part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead has the birthright to a position in Vaikuntha Loka, or the spiritual world, where there is no anxiety. Therefore, one should follow the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this just light up my heart the first time I read it, because I felt like I belong. Prabhupada here says that one has the birthright, that we have a position already in Vaikuntha Loka, in the spiritual world with Krishna. And there's not going to be any more anxiety, no more questioning. So that felt really good for me. And this is how I felt that I belong when I first met my spiritual master. If we can go to the next one. I know we're almost getting close to time, so I am watching. 52 says, my Lord, you are the supreme well-wishing friend of everyone, the dearmost friend, the controller, the super soul, the supreme instructor, and the giver of supreme knowledge, and the fulfillment of all desires. But although you are within the heart, the foolish, because of lusty desires in the heart, cannot understand you. And Prabhupada says the real purpose of life is to go back home, back to Godhead, and live with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, play with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, dance with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and eat with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How spacious is that? How beautiful is that? Can you imagine? Just being there with Krishna 24/7. And on 53, at the end of his prayers, he says, O Supreme Lord, for self-realization, I surrender unto you, who are worshipped by the demigods as the supreme controller of everything. By your instructions, exposing life's purpose, kindly cut the knot from the core of my heart and let me know the destination of my life. I mean, can you almost hear him begging, please, the Lord, please, just get rid of all the negativity. Prabhupada says that King Satyavrata shows the way to accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the real spiritual master. The Supreme Lord has given full directions in the Bhagavad Gita about how to deal with everything in this material world and how to return home back to Godhead. And that is something that we as devotees, I know we do often. We read the Bhagavad Gita over, we finish and we go back and read it again and again. And each time we read, we find more knowledge, we find more instructions. So the more we walk towards Krishna by reading the Bhagavad Gita, the more he walks towards and gives us that bodhi, that knowledge that we need. And by this, I conclude. Thank you so much. And please forgive me if I offended anyone or if I said something that was wrong.
Hare Krishna Mataji, that was such a beautiful class. Really, you kind of summarized and gave the importance of everything. Supreme Lord, spiritual master, devotional service, chanting, distributing books, Bhagavad Gita, like pretty much you covered all the areas. And you also shared such wonderful personal stories from your life. Thank you, Mataji. Just a few quick points. You said the first verse spoke about Krishna as a spiritual, supreme spiritual master. And once you surrender to Krishna, Krishna will take the reins of your life, especially the spiritual life, and he will guide you. He will actually show you your spiritual master. And so nicely explained, so nicely you told us how you met your spiritual master and how he's guiding you now. And it's wonderful, Mataji, that you are following your instructions of spiritual master and reading and giving these classes. I know the last time you said that you were been doing deity service for many years, but now you're into reading and classes. So that's so wonderful. We are fortunate that we get to hear it from you. So that's so nice. And the material desires Krishna will cut the knots of these material desires over time. And this happens only by the mercy of Krishna. And we can get this when we render the service. And chanting is the biggest service we can do. We're so fortunate that today's Ekadashi and we're getting to hear such a beautiful class. And then you said about importance of reading. Like there might be so much of material knowledge out there, but then the most important knowledge that we need is to read from Prabhupada's books and the knowledge that Prabhupada has given us. And finally, we should be very careful who we choose as a guru. A guru is a person who follows the instructions of Krishna. So Krishna will show us the right guidance at the right time. So thank you so much, Mataji, for this wonderful service. Thank you. Thank you very much, devotees, for joining the BhagavatSanga program today. So wonderful to see all of you. We will meet you all next week. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Great class, Mataji.